Hello, welcome to our webinar this evening. My name is Ellen Torres and I'm the Vice President for Membership Services. Tonight we're going to provide you on how to apply for California State PTA scholarships and grants. And our co-chair, Vandana Kaushal, will be leading us in our next slide.
Actually, I'll leave the captions part. Yeah. So if you want to read captions, you just want to go on the bottom of your screen at your Zoom toolbar, and you're going to click Show Captions, and then you're going to click My Speaking Language, and then you're going to click whatever language you would like to read your captions in.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Vandana Kaushal. I'm California State PTA Scholarships and Grants Committee Chair, and I also serve on Convention Commission and Audit Committee. I'm from 6th District. I would like to introduce first my committee, who is here helping with this webinar. Our Vice Chair is Deborah Elliott. I don't think she has joined yet, but our Secretary is Marina King. Marina?
Yeah, I'm Marina King. I'm from 15th District PTA, Santa Barbara County.
Rebecca Hernandez.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Hernandez from 9th District in San Diego County.
Erin Jenks.
Hi, everybody. Erin Jenks, 4th District, which is all of Orange County.
And I don't see anyone else. Oh, Ellen. Ellen already introduced her.
Deb's down there at the bottom.
Oh, our Vice Chair, Deborah Elliott. Deborah, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Deborah Elliott. I am from the Central Valley. Covering 8th District is primarily where I'm from.
Thank you. And Kellyanne?
Hi, I'm Kellyanne Safon. I am the Development and Programs Assistant at California State PTA.
Today we will talk about program grants and staff and volunteer scholarships. We hope this presentation will answer your questions. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation, so you can type your questions later on in the question and answer section. And I'm hoping that you don't have questions, because all the questions we will hope to answer in the presentation. We have a lot of information and advice to share, but a recording of the information we are sharing today will also be available on the California State PTA website at CAPTA.org. if you want to later on share with your board and other PTA board members. Next slide. Why does California State PTA offer grants and scholarships? Grants are awarded to local PTAs to support efforts that build and grow student achievement, parent engagement, and family involvement to make a difference in your community. Grants and scholarships are an equity initiative to support PTAs and PTA members that may not have the financial resources for programs and initiatives that may be important to their communities. PTA scholarships are available to members of your PTA community who plan to continue to serve your PTA community and may not have resources to learn more about specific educational or professional skills and strategies. You must be wondering where the funding comes from for all this. The honorary service awards that units, council, and districts purchase from PTA store, and some funding comes from memberships, Golden State membership when you join Golden State PTA. And funding depends on California State PTA received the previous year. It is hard to predict how many grants will be awarded each year until that revenue comes in. And with that, I'm going to give it to Marina King, who will explain the types of program grants we have and scholarships are available.
Okay, so California State PTA offers two types of funding: program grant and parent, staff, and volunteer education scholarships. We will start by outlining the program grants. The information we are sharing today, again, is available at the California State PTA website at capta.org. Note as you apply for a grant that building a culture of belonging and celebrating diversity is an emphasis of California State PTA. So we look forward to hearing how your programs will include these elements, whether it's starting a new program or enhancing a program that is already taking place. Here are the different types of program grants that we offer. So the first one is the Parent Education Grant. Parent education programs and projects include such areas as health, child development, child abuse prevention, and parenting skills. Program ideas might include examples such as parent resource centers, seminars and workshops, forums for parents of children with special needs, and information on preparing healthy meals. Really feel free to be very creative and work with what fits best in your PTA community and your school. Projects must be sponsored by the by the PTA that is applying for the grant. So the next grant that we offer, program grant that we offer, is Cultural Arts Grant. And the goal here is to develop and implement student-centered cultural arts programs which support California State PTA's commitment to quality arts education. The programs and projects should focus on expanding the students' awareness and appreciation of in the field of cultural arts, as well as enriching and enhancing arts education programs. So program possibilities might include performing arts assemblies. That's a real popular one. Arts communication brochures, demonstrations, storytellers, readathons, and docents. Again, feel free to be creative with this. We love receiving the applications and really enjoy hearing about these programs. The next grant that we have under the program grants would be Outreach Translation Grant. The goal of having translation written PTA to have translated written PTA materials and oral presentations shows an effort to involve every member of the school community. California State PTA may use these translated materials when appropriate. A copy of the translated material must accompany the evaluation report once the program is completed, or once you have spent the money, you will be sending in a report about it. Outreach translation possibilities, including translating written materials into other languages, providing translations at meetings and events, offering multilingual school community activities, enhancing partnerships, and engaging non-English speaking families. And the next grant that we have to offer, and the final one, is the Healthy Lifestyle Grant. This goal is the goal with this grant is to develop, promote, and implement programs, projects, and activities that will improve the overall health of children and adults. Program grant possibilities include classes, health fairs, awareness events, walking and running programs, sun safety initiatives, and depression awareness efforts. Please refer to the AIM insurance guide for approved activities. And that's always good when you're coming up with things, to make sure that you can that you're not having a problem with the insurance, and that works out. Next slide. To apply for a program grant, your unit, council, or district must be in good standing. What does it mean to be in good standing? So this is very important, so please take note. Your unit's last tax forms were filed. That would be, in this case, your 2023, I believe it is. Although so you'll want to make sure those are filed. You want to make sure that your PTA or PTSA has at least 15 paid memberships at the time of grant application. Very important. You can be disqualified if you don't have those memberships. So you want to make sure you have those, ideally quite a few more than that. You want to make sure that your July 1st, 2023 through June 31st, 2024 financial review, which used to be called audits, now called financial review, must have been approved by your general membership. And you also need to upload your 2024-2025 budget, which has been approved at your first PTA association meeting of this school year. So don't jump the gun on any of that. Make sure you have all of those elements. You'll need to be able to upload those with your application. So your first step is to make sure that your unit or council is in good standing. You will find the online program grant application at the California State PTA website at CAPTA.org. The final application in packet must include, and we're going to review this one more time, the completed application form, which must be electronically signed by your unit, council, or district PTA president, depending on which level of PTA you are, applying for the grant, which is applying for the grant. Your PTA fiscal year end financial review form this past membership year, 23-24, must be uploaded. The current fiscal year budget, 2024-25, a description of the program's goals and anticipated outcomes. Make this no more than 3 pages total. And this would include your program, how your program will increase equity and diversity at your school and or create a culture of belonging. And so this is really important because this is sort of an additional element that we're looking for in our applications this year, how you will be able to include everybody that you are serving. And so the description should also include the number of students who will be served, description of activities planned to implement the project or fulfill your goals, timeline for the project, the proposed project budget, a description of other project funding applied for or received. We want to know who else you've contacted for funds. We want to make sure that your program happens and that you've been able to do some outreach. And an explanation of project implementation if your PTA receives less than the amount requested. In other words, if we're not able to give you the exact amount that you requested, then what will you still be able to run your project, and what will you be able to do? And last but not least, a description of how the project's success will be evaluated. So we're going to turn now to Ellen, who will now share tips and tricks that makes a perfect, a really good program grant application.
Thank you. So really, what makes a good program application? As you heard, there's a lot of requirements, but these are some of the things that we as a committee, when we're scoring, are looking for in the application as a whole. And so what we're looking for is, does this program increase diversity, equity, and or create a culture of belonging at your school site? Very important. Do you have a current approved budget? Does this budget, and this is really, really important, and this is where you will get some extra points, or your application may not get any points, is does the budget include our PTA programs? We're looking for things such as reflections, convention attendance, leadership training, membership campaigns, honorary service. So if this application, if it does not have this in the application, you're not going to score very highly, and unfortunately, most likely will not be considered for a grant, because we do get a lot of applications. One of the other things that we want to make sure you do is that you have a current, as mentioned before, financial review in place. It just, the budget and the financial review issues are the #1 reason why your application is going to be disqualified. If it breaks my heart every time that I read these applications, that when these things, it could be just such a wonderful program, but we can't consider it because you don't have those things in place. So we also want to make sure there is a clear description of which students and families will benefit from the program, and how they would benefit. We like to see a lot of detail about your school community and what your school population number is and who will serve. And so, it's great that you may have a wonderful program and it serves maybe 10 to 15 students, but we would really like to see that you are reaching out to your entire school population and maybe even further out to the community. We want to make sure that your program supports the mission of PTA. And I think that we all know what the mission of California State PTA is. And if we don't, I'm going to let you know. It's to positively impact the lives of all children and families. So we want to make sure that when you're doing your application, that helps. Another couple of things that we're looking for is you know, a PTA, California State PTA, and all PTAs, we're an advocacy group. We're not really a fundraising group. So we want to make sure, does this application touch on some of our advocacy goals, like to advocate for legislation, policies, and measures that include safeguards of the health, safety, welfare, culture, and the well-being of children and families, including mental health and other support services. We want to promote evidence-based, informed family engagement. And we want to make sure that you're expanding civic engagement and learning and participation. We also want to make sure that you touch on some organizational goals of California State PTA, and specifically to cultivate an inclusive organization. We want to make sure that every child and every family is represented. Strategic planning for your PTA, tomorrow's PTA. So we don't want it to end with you. We want to make sure that these programs can be living on in the future. And we want to make sure that and this is very important to me as the VP of Membership Services, that we expand membership and its value. And we hope that you will help us promote that. And we want to make sure that most of all, that we're strengthening our PTA's impact, and that we are training and developing and supporting leaders at all levels. And then last, again, we want to make sure, because we're really focusing this year on DEI, is that the program is accessible to all students, and especially a priority community. I think it's the next slide. So I'm just going to give you a few examples of what we've looked for, what successful grants we have given out in the past. And the first one was a Feeding the Community grant. And at one school site, some of the families who did not have access to affordable, healthy food decided that there was a need for this. And so what they did was that this unit wanted to support the most vulnerable families by providing access to food. So they applied for a grant to build a food pantry, and they requested the grant. They wanted materials to build the pantry for shelves, etc., and the food that was going to be collected from other donations. And they felt it would be self-sustaining, and the pantry would serve, again, our most vulnerable part of the community. And because it was self-sustaining program, we knew that this was something that we wanted to, give a grant to. And then we have educational grants for our staff and our volunteers. So you as a volunteer could apply for one of these. One of such grants wanted help to go to a community college and to get a business degree, and felt that with that she would be able to help with family involvement. And one of the things that she wanted to do was to help integrate Zoom meetings into the PTA meetings, and was trying to reach out to the community. And what she wrote was that I have been a member of PTA since my oldest child, now in 6th grade, was in kindergarten. I've helped the PTA with Reflections program at our school, and I am co-chair of that program. And I help with all planning and electing submissions, celebrating the students' achievements. And so this year she wanted to expand it to include a workshop, etc. So again, what we're also looking for when you're applying for the staff and volunteer grant scholarships is your personal PTA involvement. I think that there's a requirement that some of them you have to have been a PTA volunteer for a minimum of 3 years. Some of our educational grants, again, to staff, are like, one was an EEL Brain Learns, and this one again was to continue, the teacher to continue her education, so she could reach out to students that may not otherwise receive the information they need with school technology. So those are just some of the grants. There's all kinds of translation that some of them would like to translate newsletters or any information about PTA meetings, just all sorts of grants. On the application you will see, and can have a look. And we're glad to answer questions again in the chat at the Q&A at the end of this. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. As we mentioned, the information that we're sharing tonight is also available on the CAPTA.org website and of course in the toolkit. This presentation is being recorded and will also be available for you to share with your board. So we will send that link out later. We don't have it now. But yes, CAPTA also offers a $500 scholarship for any adult school staff member or PTA, PTSA volunteer to help with their professional development and training. These scholarships typically supplement funding for continuing education or a workshop for professional development. And here are a few tips and guidelines that must be met. Applicants must plan to continue as a staff or volunteer after the training. Staff members must have a minimum 3 years experience in California public school. Our PTSA volunteers must have given a minimum of 3 years service to PTA. How is your volunteer work contributing to equity or a culture of belonging at your school site? Scholarships must be used January 1st through December 31st, so for a full year following the year awarded. And then proof of enrollment and completion provided to the California State PTA by June 30th. So basically the current board that used the grant really needs to send that report in before the end of the year. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Our staff and volunteers may want or need additional professional development and training to support equity and diversity and create a culture of belonging in your community. The application should have a clear description of how your professional development or continuing education will help your community in a very specific way. So DEI-focused education might include professional development for working with students who receive special education services or resource services. It could include workshops on culturally responsive education, incorporating trauma-informed practices for working with children and youth. It could also include workshops and training for working with migrant and refugee communities. And these are just a few ideas, but also reading and math resource specialist credentialing. So think about what it is that your community needs when you're looking at the grant application or the scholarship application. Thank you. Okay, I'll turn it back over, I think, to Wanda now.
All right. So can we put your questions and answers in the question and answer section, please?
So we have had a couple questions. One is a very good question, and it says, can we apply for multiple programs within the same category?
You could apply for one for each category.
One for each category. You can't send in multiple ones.
Yeah. You could apply for one healthy, one cultural grant, one parent education, but you can't apply for 3 cultural grants because we will only take one.
They can apply, but we wouldn't award it. So you can apply for something for a holiday party, for Cinco de Mayo, for Lunar New Year, but you wouldn't get all 3. Just pick one.
Yeah, we ask that you just apply one for each category. It says, is this presentation recorded? I missed the first 10 minutes. Yes, it will be available at California State PTA or CAPTA.org. But give us at least a few days or a week before it will
Yeah.
be out. Does anybody else want to take the next question? The one that, or would you like me to? It says, how many program grants can a PTA apply for? And I think we answered that. Can a
Yes.
unit apply for a grant in each category? That is correct. There was stuff in the, so if you put questions in the chat, they have been answered, but I don't think you can see them. So we can go back to those. Again, somebody asked for the link of the recording. We don't have that link yet. Somebody mentioned that there is a typo on our website, and we'll correct it, that it says that the applications are now closed.
No,
but
I
I
just
don't believe
checked
that is true.
applications. If they must have looked at senior scholarships, that is closed, but the other two are open. If you go on CAPTA.org, then you have to go under programs, then go under scholarships and grants. So you have to click on continuous education is for staff and volunteers, and grants for PTAs are the program grants. Those two are already open.
We have a question. Can the grant apply to programs already in place or to maintain funding? Does it need to be new?
Well, it doesn't have to be new. It doesn't have to be a new program, but again, as mentioned, they will ask you, how have you maintained this program in the past? If you don't, let's say you're asking for 5,000 and we're only offering 2, how would you come up with that additional 3,000? So make sure those are really important things to put in, that we really look for those units that have already tried to obtain other funding, because we know that we can't always fund the entire grant. If you could put them actually in the questions in the Q&A, it would be a lot easier, because what happens with the chat is it moves up and then we will miss them. It looks like there's 10 open questions. I'll let somebody else handle these.
Can the grant apply to program already in place to, okay, there you already answered that.
Yes.
Then, can the same person who is part of multiple PTAs apply for the same program on behalf of each PTA?
Yes, right?
Yeah, you could apply, yes.
As long as it's different PTAs.
Yes, agreed.
Oh, I know this one. It says a lot of the topics seem to be geared more toward Title I schools. If your school is not Title I, can you still apply? Of course. And no, there are not different suggestions for these schools. We're still looking for programs that address arts and culture, create a sense of belonging, address equity and inclusion at your school site. And there are schools that are not Title I schools that still do a lot of cultural programming, parent education, supporting families with children with special needs. So you can absolutely, everyone can apply, but the categories are the same.
And the deadline, one of the questions, what is the deadline to submit the report? That is June 1. And if we don't get a report, unfortunately, we'll have to ask you to return your funds. We want to be nice about it. So just, let us know what's going on.
And yes, for the financial review, the unit has to have the most recent one completed. So for an October 15th deadline, that would be your financial review for the previous fiscal year.
Oh, that's a good question. If the council isn't in good standing, but the unit is in good standing, can the unit apply for the grant? Yes.
Yes.
Correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some other things that may not be true, but for this, we are going by the individual unit.
Another question is, do you have an idea what the grant award amounts might be, even just a ballpark? And a similar question was asked earlier. Vandana, do you want to answer that?
It could be between 500 to 2,000. It all depends how much. We haven't got our numbers for this year yet, so we are still waiting to get the exact numbers. How much we have to give it out, and it also depends sometimes on how many applications we get.
One of the questions is, does Meet the Masters count towards a performing arts grant? I'll let somebody answer that. I know that we've had a number of applications in the past that was for Meet the Masters.
So think for a minute how Meet the Masters might address diversity or equity in your community. Is there a particular group of students or families that are participating who have felt excluded in the past? Or is it you need the additional funding to make sure the program is available to all students instead of the students in one classroom? So think about how Meet the Masters as a cultural grant would also improve a culture of belonging and equity at your school site.
There's a question, I think, about are there other grant funds available that California State PTA recommends outside of the California State PTA grants? I don't think that we recommend other grants or scholarships. You could also, this is outside of California State PTA, but National has a number that you can apply for. National PTA. There's one, this is pretty specific. It says, I'm in a 2-year PTA, applied for on job program. I'm sorry, my glasses, I can't read this. Maybe somebody else.
Say I am a second year PTA, apply for a job program or should complete 3 years. It's a requirement, 3 years minimum.
Can the educational scholarship support attending California State PTA convention? That's a good question. That would, I don't know. We would have to discuss that, right, Vandana, as a committee, but
yeah.
As a past VP for convention, and Vandana's on that commission, I think, we all love convention. But I don't know if that's something that we can talk about. I don't know for sure an answer to that one.
And the education scholarship support.
Well, it is parent education, and as part of
Right.
parent education, we expect you to articulate how doing this thing will make your PTA stronger and more inclusive and create a culture of belonging. So if you can frame convention participation in that context, that it will benefit the entire school or your entire PTA in some way, I think it might be eligible, especially if your school has never attended convention.
We do give out leadership grants to the districts to give it out
Right.
to the units for schools who have never attended convention, to give it out to them. Have you ever tried to reach out to your district and see if they have funds to give it to you to go to a convention?
Someone said again, can we share what information we're looking for in reviewing the applications? I can briefly go over it again, but you can email me. But what we're looking for is that you're in good standing, that you have a current budget, a current financial review, that you do PTA programs. And I can't stress this enough. And when we do a workshop, I always say, these are the secrets. We don't want to see somebody who has a budget, they present it to us and they do absolutely no PTA programs. And by programs, we mean reflections, maybe have some funds to send people to convention, that you're actually doing leadership training, that you do have money in for some membership campaigns, because we are a membership organization, and maybe have honorary service. Now, you don't have to have all of them, but we really should. Those are PTA sponsored programs. So those are kind of the things that we're looking for. Again, we're looking for a wide range where you're reaching more than just a few students, that you're really reaching out to the whole school population or even to the community. Anything else that I missed? And you know that you are supporting the mission of PTA. Anything else that I've missed that somebody can answer or add to that?
Yeah, PTA in good standing is the step one. You have to make sure that you have paid 15 members. You have your bylaws are reviewed in last 5 years, and you have filed all the government filings. You are current on it. That is very important, because if your unit is not in good standing, or council or district, application is disqualified before we even see it, before we even look at it.
One of the things that we neglected to say, and thanks to Deb, she reminded us that we do not want you using the chat GPT or any AI to complete your applications. We read the words and descriptions, and believe it or not, we can, when we were scoring last year, we could all pick out the ones that use those features. So so please try not to use that and to do this in your own words, because these are really important to you and they're important to us, and we want to make sure that we can award them to you.
The due date is October 15th, 2024, to apply for any of it.
And did we mention how many grants? It just really depends on our budget, correct? About how many we.
Yes.
Sometimes there can be 5 in one category and maybe only 1 in another category, because unfortunately, again, a lot of them are disqualified for not meeting our rubric.
And like if you're applying for scholarship, it's asking for 2 reference letters. Please make sure you send 2 reference letters the way they have been asked, not from the same reference letter submitted twice.
We have Carmen Decker raising her hand. If you could type your question in the Q&A, that would be great.
I think Carrie is answering. She's answering some of these individually. Thank you, Carrie.
Usually it's just to go, yes, absolutely. Great idea. I still don't know about Meet the Masters. I think somebody has applied for Meet the Masters in the past.
But I don't remember.
I don't remember if they received it though.
I'm not sure. Yes.
Can I jump in here and just say, remember also that you have Prop 28 funds, and those funds at your individual schools can be used for Meet the Masters if it is a new program to your school.
Oh, thank you. Oh, my PTA is on probation. Would this disqualify us from being able to apply for a grant? We have a new board. Well, if you're in good standing, I don't know. That's a hard question. I've never had that question.
Well, the question is who put you on probation? Because if the California State PTA put you on probation, it's likely that you haven't filed your financial reviews or your taxes for a while, which would disqualify you. But if you're on probation because somebody at the school site is trying to decide whether or not they want to keep a PTA at the school site, and the PTA has still been filing its paperwork and has its 15 members, then you're not on probation with us.
Correct.
So somebody just answered my question about Meet the Masters. They're suggesting that Meet the Masters is not very diverse or focused on DEI. So you may want to explore other arts curricula and programs that are available.
And somebody wanted to know, what is Meet the Masters? If anybody who's used it can maybe explain.
It sounds Southern California to me. I bet it is. Because I've not heard of it either.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, and I think it's really about I think it's with the arts. Um, but I've not had any of my children participate or had any schools that have used it. It says volunteering for PTA for 3 years as a financial reviewer qualifies me for a grant or specific program. Yes, you can apply for a grant if you have volunteered for 3 years. Yeah, so they wrote that it's an art program, like I thought, and they learn about different artists and their work. We had our own program, which you can actually do a little bit less with less cost. We had a program at my kids' school that was called the Art Docent Program, and we were all PTA volunteers that each they would go into the classroom with some sort of art project, whether it was Van Gogh or whatever. So you may want to try to do it on your own and still have the same benefit.
Somebody pointed out that the eligibility states that the application period is closed. It's just the wrong tense. Because if the deadline was October 15th, 2024, and we haven't had October 15th, 2024 yet, it's just the wrong tense. So we'll be sure to get that updated for you. Yes,
Yeah,
the application period is until October 15th, 2024.
So we will
I'm in
remove
Northern
that it was
California,
closed.
and the weather's pretty much the same year round, so I also lose track of what month it is.
Yeah, I think that what happens is when we have somebody update the website, they just changed the dates and didn't read the word that said that it was closed, but it is definitely not closed.
It sounds like we need a good selection of arts programs to a list of arts programs people could consider. I don't think we usually do that, but it sounds like a lot of folks are very interested in arts and culture for their school.
Yes.
The best place to find the information is at www.capta.org.
Okay, we do have a couple more questions. It says, can you touch on the volunteer scholarships a little bit more?
Okay.
Yeah, does anybody else want to take that? Or it really just means that you could use the volunteer scholarship if you wanted to take a class in Excel. It doesn't have to necessarily benefit the entire school population, but I'll let somebody else answer if they have more insight.
Oh, I thought it did. I thought if you're going for a volunteer scholarship, it is to help you as a PTA volunteer.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
Or to help your school.
so
To help
let's
your
say
schools.
if you're going to be like the treasurer and you need to learn Excel, that helps. But I'm just saying
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I
But
missed
that would definitely help the whole school.
right. So those are kind of the volunteer scholarships that we are looking for. Again, I mentioned that the one wanted to take a business class because she really felt that after COVID, things were closed down and she wanted to, help provide Zoom and pay for a Zoom. And she broke it down what the costs were for the different things that she wanted to do to get a sort of an account. So it's a volunteer scholarship, but it really wasn't individual for her. And you know what? If you want, I'm happy to answer questions. My email is etorres, TORRES at CAPTA.org. Sorry, I always say California State PTA, but it's etorres at CAPTA.org.
Can we read this awesome positive comment from Katie Enriquez?
Sure.
She says, not a question, but a comment. I received the volunteer scholarship for the 23-24 school year. I am super appreciative, and I took 2 summer online classes this summer and signed up for fall classes. It helped me out, and I plan to apply again.
Thank you.
Katie. Thanks for the shout out, Katie.
Because we have 9 new messages.
Any other question? What are the due dates? We already responded.
people are saying they'd love to help with the arts program. Former teacher, our California State PTA website volunteer said they will change was to is. So so I think that's it.
Okay, thank you everyone for taking your time and attending the webinar and learning about it. And hopefully we will get tons of applications this time.
Thank you and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.